Let me ask you something before we get into anything. When you think about someone who's built a successful business, what comes to mind? Be honest. Maybe you picture someone who just had this gift, like they were born with some kind of wiring the rest of us weren't. Or maybe you think it's luck, right place, right time, right idea. Or maybe, and this one's more common than people admit, you think it's just raw hustle, just outworking everyone around you until something clicks. I used to think that too. But the longer I've been in it, the more I've realized that's not really it. It's not hustle, it's not luck, it's not some rare gene that people have. It's all about positioning, it's experience, it's understanding the board you're playing on. And the more I thought about that, the more it started to sound like something else entirely. Chess. Now, I know what you're thinking. Here we go, another chess analogy. But hear me out, because I'm not going to just compare the two and call it a day. I want to actually break it down why the way you chess players think is the same way the best business owners think, and why most people, whether they're at a chessboard or running a business, are making the same fundamental mistakes. So let's go straight into it. I built a business while working full time in the military. Every spare hour I had, early mornings, lunch breaks, late nights, was poured into something on the side. That business is called Valor Vinyls, and where I sell pre-designed and custom stickers. And to date, we've done over 300K in sales. Nothing insane. I'm not here pretending to be some guru sitting on a yacht in Dubai, but enough to understand the board. And honestly, a lot of what got us there came down to thinking more like a chess player than a business owner. So let me show you what I mean. The first thing chess teaches you, and this hits harder than most people expect, is that the board doesn't lie. There's no blaming the weather, there's no blaming your opponent, there's no blaming the algorithm. If you're in a losing position, it's because of you. Even if it was the smallest mistake, somewhere along the way, you made that mistake. That's confronting. But here's the thing, it's also freeing. Because if it's on you, then it's also fixable by you. Most people, when they're in a bad position, they sit there and wish the rules would have changed, but they wish the economy would change. They wish their boss would change. They wish the algorithm would change. But the rules of chess have been the same for over 3,000 years. You can sit there and complain about the board all you want, but the board doesn't care. And with Valor Vinyls, I had moments early on where nothing was working. Ads weren't converting, products weren't landing, and I was wondering, I was worried, I kept thinking, maybe the market's wrong, maybe the timing's off, maybe no one wants what I'm selling. But eventually I stopped looking outward and started looking at my own moves, and that's when things started to shift. You can accept the parameters and make the best possible move. Even if defeat feels certain, even if you're down on revenue, even if you started late, even if someone else looks further ahead than you are, you still make the strongest move available, and that's maturity, that's business. One of the things I generally love about chess is that it forces you to think forward. Not just your next move, but 5 moves ahead. 10 if your brain's firing that day. But you don't just start there. You start at 1 move ahead, then 2, then 3, and then it's just muscles, right? It's just you working it. And if you don't train it, it never develops. Here's how I think about it on the chessboard. I love a queen pawn opening. It brings my bishop out, it threatens the queen. If they counter, I can push them back, and then I bring my knight out to support him so it covers e6. Nothing crazy, nothing flashy. I'm just slowly developing my pieces, getting my king safe, preparing to castle, right? So structure before flash. Now apply that to Valor Vinyls. I create a solid ad campaign that brings in traffic to the website. My landing page is built to convert, clean, clear, no confusion at all on the site. Maybe the customer buys immediately, maybe they don't. If they don't buy, they might drop their email on the pop-up. If they abandon cart, I've got email flows ready to catch them. If they buy, even better, they enter my retention flows, new drops, new products, and future value. So every move sets up the next move. And this applies to everything, not just paid ads. If you're posting on social media, what do you want people to feel? What actions do you want them to take? What's the move after that? Order fulfillment. What does the customer experience from the moment they place an order to when the package lands in their hands? What do you want them to feel when they open it? What do you want them to do next? Think past the single moment, and then that's the skill. Business isn't chaos, it's sequencing. Here's one that a lot of people get wrong, and I've been guilty of it too. In chess, you don't just move a piece because it feels productive. Every move has intent. There's a reason for it, even if it's a subtle one. Most amateurs, they just move randomly. They're just reacting, filling time, making it look like they're doing something. Business is no different. Posting on social media because you feel like you should, that's not a strategy. That's just movement. Launching a new product because you're bored of the current one, and that's not strategy either, right? Activity is not strategy. Every move needs a reason. What are you trying to achieve with this? What should the customer feel, and what comes next? When I post content for Valor Vinyls, I'm thinking myself, is this building trust? Is this showcasing the product? Is this nudging someone who's seen us before to finally convert? I'm intentional always. Now, even the best plans fall apart on the board. Your opponent takes a piece you weren't expecting to lose. They see something you didn't. Suddenly, the position you had mapped out 3 moves ago doesn't exist anymore. Do you panic? Do you flip the board? Or do you pause? Look at what's actually in front of you and find the best move available from here. Business is exactly the same. I had periods with Valor Vinyls where, customers would not reply back to me. They're just gone. No communication, no timeline, what we talked about. They would just fall out on the deal. And it just kept me wondering, how could I move forward from this? How can I best approach this? I could have panicked. I could have hidden from the emails. Instead, I communicated, and I found a way to get around it, approach new people, and maybe even follow up on them a couple weeks later, right? Shipping error, respond faster. I sent a replacement. I turned a bad experience into a memorable one for the customers. You know, Potentially your ad accounts can flag. Don't spiral out of control. Don't worry about it if your ad has stopped. Just diversify where you're running traffic and try and find a new way to approach it. All right. So it's all about not panicking and just responding to whatever has happened. That's the difference between someone playing emotionally and someone playing strategically. Now, in chess, one of the most important concepts is controlling the center of the board. Your pawns push forward into the middle, your knights and bishops aim at the center. You're never overcommitting to one side and leaving the other wide open. The center is where the control lives. Now, business is exactly the same as that. Your core products, your main offer, your primary traffic source, that's your center. I see this mistake constantly with other businesses. They just scatter themselves into 10 different ideas, 10 different niches, 10 half built projects, 10 unfinished attempts at something. And all they're done is water down the sweetness of their drink. But with the Valor Vinyls, my own business, I stuck to predominantly stickers. That's my bread and butter. People ask me, hey, can you do custom patches? And that's not my bread and butter. Hey, can you do custom shirts of your designs? That's not my thing. I may release some merch, some small merch of things to capture people in other ways, but I'm not spreading myself too thin. And as I said, watering down the sweetness of my drink. So I mastered the product, the process, and the customer. Depth beats distraction every time. So find your core, double down on it, and master it before you branch out to anything else. Quality over quantity, always. That's key. Now, this one took me a while to actually get comfortable with, but now in chess, sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece. You let them take something, you give something of value, because you've calculated that after all that bloodshed, you come out with the better position. You're not losing, you're investing. Because business is the same. In the early days, every bit of profit I made, I put back in. More inventory, better ads, better packaging. I wasn't taking it out and inflating my lifestyle, buying things that I don't need. I looked at the spreadsheet and said, this is extra profit this month. Okay, now I can put it into the ad spend and push out my campaign a lot more, right? This funds the next inventory run. This funds covers the outsourcing for other things. There's so much you could do with it. So just think short-term comfort or long-term power. You can't have both, not at the start, that's for sure. So every serious player in chess and in business sacrifices early comfort for a stronger position later. But here's the key. You don't sacrifice randomly. You sacrifice strategically because you thought ahead and you know what the position looks like on the other side. Okay, last one for you. If you don't review your games, you won't improve. That's fundamental. That's true in chess and it's just as true in business. So top chess players, they review every game. They sit with it, they find the moment where things turned, they understand exactly what went wrong and why. And most business owners, they guess. They go on feel. They make the same mistakes over and over because they never looked at the data. And that's not what you want to do. Me, I look at the metrics. I look at the metrics on the board and metrics in the business. My ROAS, the conversion rate, shipping costs, email open rates, margins. These aren't just numbers. They're telling you exactly where you're strong and exactly where you're leaking and where you're weak, right? And we live in a time where this is easier than ever. You can literally paste your numbers or your data into an AI tool with a clear prompt. It could be Claude, could be ChatGPT, whatever it is for you, and then just get meaningful insights in minutes and find your next action step to execute on, right? Most people don't bother. They just guess and keep moving. They can move emotionally. They blame the board. Don't be that player, trust me. I'll leave you with this. Chess rewards patience. Business rewards patience, right? Both punish ego, and then they both punish impulsiveness. They both reward you, though, in discipline and clear thinking over time. Those people who win aren't always the ones who started out with the most. They're the ones who stayed on the board long enough to understand it. So play to learn, play to win, and play to actually enjoy it. Because if you're not finding some satisfaction in the game, you won't last long enough to be good at it. And mastery is where the real leverage sits. I love it. So if this was useful, like and subscribe if you wish. I'm happy to hear you join the journey. And if you're building something right now and want to talk it through, drop it in the comments. I'll read them and I'll get back to you. I'll see you in the next one.